Okay, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about buying gear, how much gear you should buy, whether you should buy it, what you should purchase, should you upgrade all the time. I have a few thoughts on this. I've bought many things that I probably shouldn't have bought, and there's probably many things I should have bought sooner. So I think there are a few things you should think about before you maybe dive into purchasing new gear or purchasing gear for the first time. When I started out my filmmaking journey with my business partner, we thought it was a great idea to get a credit card and spend about $10,000 on camera gear. We bought an A7S II, which was legit at the time. We got a Ronin M. We bought like an $800 Zeiss 35mm lens. We went out to make music videos, which isn't a particularly lucrative business here in Australia specifically. Like, you can get work, but if you're a beginning filmmaker, spending that much money to do music videos probably isn't the wisest idea. So inevitably, we were just working to try and pay off our loans and not actually making any money. Terrible way to start a business, wouldn't recommend it. We had access to like a 70D and some lenses, and our friends had Ronins, and some of our friends had lights. We could have just borrowed all of those things, and then once we started making money, started to invest in gear. But instead we went hard, and I wouldn't recommend you do the same thing. There have been many things I regret purchasing. Many things. I've changed camera bodies like over 5 times in the last 3 years. I've bought a drone, I've bought a bunch of different lenses, and if there's one thing I have learned, you're best just investing in good quality things from the start, and trying to avoid all the marketing hype that happens. There's always going to be new things coming out every year, and they're only incrementally better. There are a few things you can invest in, however, that will last a long time, and you won't really need to upgrade much. Lighting is one of them. Lighting does evolve a little bit. It is much slower than I think camera bodies and other tech. But you can invest in a bunch of cheap lights. You don't have to buy expensive lights. Aputure have some great lights, but if you can go cheaper again, you can get Godox lights. There's like Nice Photo. There's a bunch of kind of Chinese brands, which are quite good. Honestly, there's not a huge difference. Lenses is the other thing. If you're buying lenses, I recommend always buying used. You can normally buy used and then resell for the same kind of value, so you're not really losing any money. This is good, especially if you're buying native lenses. I don't really like adapting lenses too much. It causes problems sometimes. So buying native lenses is a much easier way to go. And if you're buying secondhand, you can normally buy and resell with the camera body and not lose much money, if any. Audio gear is another one. It tends to hold its value if you're buying in the secondhand market as well. And it doesn't really change. Like, things do get slightly better, but microphones and that are essentially the same. If you buy some solid mics, they're gonna last you a long time, and it's well worth the investment. Camera manufacturers have to make money, and they do this by making minuscule upgrades to their cameras every year. And people rush out to buy them. They rush out to buy cameras that essentially have the same spec as they did the year before and the year before that. A lot of the times you can buy a camera that's 5 years plus old and it still holds up today. Another thing to consider is what people are actually consuming your content on. I don't make things that are watched on huge screens. I don't make movies, so most of the stuff I make is consumed on a laptop screen or on a phone screen. So having 4K or 6K isn't even super necessary. What I value more is good dynamic range and the usability of the camera. A purchasing mistake I made a lot when I started out was buying things for one-off jobs. I would get a job and I'd be like, oh, I need this specific piece of gear for this job, and I would go out and buy it rather than just renting it or borrowing it. And I thought, like, at the time, I'm like, I'm gonna use this all the time. I'm gonna use this for all the other jobs I get just like this. And I've never used them again. They sit around. I've had to resell them off and I've lost money on them. So again, I would only really recommend spending money on things you're actually going to be using on a regular basis. The things you pick up for almost every job. Of course, jobs will vary, and some will require natural lighting, some will require many lights, some may require 2 cameras or 1, but typically picking gear that fits in the realm of the type of stuff you're shooting makes a lot more sense than trying to buy gear that covers every type of filmmaking. At the end of the day, as a freelancer or a filmmaker or a cinematographer or whatever you want to call yourself, your business has to be financially viable. So if you're killing all of your profits by buying equipment off marketing hype or a feeling of inadequacy, or you're going into debt to buy equipment, you're really hurting yourself in the long run. You could use that money to invest in making spec commercials or going out and shooting other work that might get you higher paying clients, which then could in turn afford you the gear. There is also some fun in working within limitations. If you kind of plan your jobs around the equipment that you have, it may help define your style, it may help you be more creative. There's so many pros that can come from setting yourself limitations. And the last point I have is that buying a new camera simply won't make you a better filmmaker. There are so many amazing films that were made on phones. on cameras from many years ago, the camera shouldn't play a huge part in what you're able to produce. Now, there is a level of professionalism that is required if you're doing paid client work. They're going to expect a certain level of equipment. If they're paying a lot of money, they're going to expect you to bring all of the gear and the lights and things like that. So you obviously have to invest in those. But if you're just starting out and just trying to build up your portfolio, you don't need to go hard with borrowing money, buying truckloads of equipment just to impress your clients. Think about what gear would actually help you, what gear you're going to use on a day-to-day basis. When buying equipment, invest in what you need, not what you want or what you think you might need. If you do need gear for one-off jobs, borrow off friends or rent. Buy what you can afford and just work with that until you get enough money from high-paying clients to then upgrade if you feel it's necessary. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this all kind of made sense. If you do want to, comment below your worst gear purchasing decision. Mine was definitely my drone. I flew it like 4 times in a year. Terrible, terrible investment. And that was for a one-off job purchase. Example A.